Welcome to Diverse Orange, our conversations about diversity here in Central Florida. My guest today is Joel De Souza. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you.
So, Joel, you were born and grew up in West Africa in the Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire. Is that how we would
Yes.
say it?
Yeah, that'll be Côte d'Ivoire in French. Yeah.
Which is the official language there. Is that right?
Yes, it is. French is the official language.
And you grew up in a large city there?
Yes, I grew up in a capital called Abidjan, which is a very large city, very big and developed city in West Africa. Yeah, one of the biggest there.
And when did you, as a child or whatever, say, I think I want to leave and go to another country?
I mean, I always wanted to come here, from looking at the movies and being infatuated by the lifestyle of the skyscrapers and Hollywood and stuff like that.
So you would get a lot of American movies there,
Well, yeah, very much so, very much so.
translated into French or just in
Translated to
English?
French. Yeah,
Okay.
translated to French. Most of the um, uh, big movies and in Hollywood was always translated over there in movie theaters and stuff like that. So we was very much so following very closely the culture of the American culture over there. So I always wanted to be able to come there. And when the opportunity came after high school to be able to continue my studies here, I jumped on it and decided to come here to follow my studies.
So when you say come here to the United States, where did you first come?
I first came to Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
That's the very first place that I landed. I went to school there at Boston University. So I think I took some English classes there to perfect my languages and be able to take some college classes or courses after that.
And did you not have French movies back home that showed you the big cities in France? Or
Yeah, uh, yeah, but the movies in French and the movie in America is totally different. There's the French movies are more romantic type of movies, and the American movies are more the actions and
ah,
um, James Bond and all that stuff. So naturally, I'm more attracted to those.
you wanted the adventure.
Exactly.
All right. So you came to this country, you came to Boston. Why did you leave Boston?
The weather in Boston was a little bit too cold for me. I wasn't accustomed to that rude weather, so I decided to move down south so I can get to a climate that's more like where I'm from.
Did you call it rude weather?
Yeah.
I like that. That's a nice phrase. All right. So did you come then from Boston to Orlando?
My first stop was in Gainesville, Florida. So I went to school there at the University of Florida. That was the when I was searching for school. That was the school that I wanted to go, and I went there. Did some years there in Florida, in Gainesville, and from Gainesville, I decided to move to the nearest city that's more like a city, because Gainesville is more like a small town. So from Gainesville, I moved to Orlando, and I stayed in Orlando ever since.
What uh, what's the difference between a small town and the city of Orlando?
Traffic lights. There's more traffic lights in Orlando than Gainesville. Gainesville, you can count how many traffic lights you
And
have.
you like traffic lights, huh?
I like traffic lights. I like the big city vibe. The fact that we have more to choose to do, more stuff to do, more family orientated. So yeah, I like the city part of it.
How being a student from Africa in Boston and Gainesville, how were you accepted in the community there?
Um, Not at first. As far as being accepted in the community, in the American community, probably not at first because of language barriers. and the fact that the culture barriers as well too. So therefore, like when you come in the country that's not your own, you usually try to cling more with other international students. So you guys have something more in common because you're both coming from different countries. And so I tend to be more around the international student when I first got here, and as I developed and was able to grow and have a more an identity about myself, I was able to open up to more of the older culture that was here and be able to create friendships and relationship and stuff like that. But it was just like a process.
And in Orlando, you're not in just the immigrant community. You've found your way into the full community.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, I was able to flourish and be able to open up myself and be comfortable to call myself, to call here my home. So basically, I feel like I'm home now. So it's easy.
Nice. How about the difference between being an African and the African American community? There is any obvious differences there, or do you fit right in as a fellow Black man?
At the beginning, now there was definitely a difference. Uh, Mostly about the uh, culture differences. Even though we look the same, the cultures are very different. So, which was creating some type of not division, but some type of like we stay apart from each other as far as cultural aspect. But I think with time, things like change where the Africans are more accepted into the African American community now, and I think it's due to a lot of documentaries, music. Uh, Most of the states is due to more culture. So basically, a lot more of the African culture was able to be brought in on the positive way, which I think African American now start to feel more assimilated to the African culture as well and recognize themselves into the African culture. There's now people that do more of the DNA tested so they can be able to find out their background. So all those things that was introduced through and from then have made it easier now for those two culture to be able to get closer.
If I part of what I heard you saying, if this is right, is that the African American community has maybe become more aware of and proud of their roots in Africa. So that has helped bridge that
Exactly. Yeah.
cultural difference. And I know
Yeah.
that you've been here for more than a decade in Central Florida, and you are very involved in the community with One Human Race.
Yes.
Is that the name of the
Yes, it is.
organization?
One race, human race. Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that and what you're doing with that?
Yes. The It's a nonprofit that take care of providing services to the homeless in Central Florida. Exactly more in the downtown area in Orlando. What we do, we provide services such as food, haircut, clothing, and also other services that can help them be able to rehabilitate it as far as being able to get like an ID, get some medical
Mhm.
attentions and stuff like that. So basically, that's what we're doing here.
And
Since
you're also involved with Taste of Africa.
Yes, yes, Taste of Africa is more like um an organization that's trying to promote the African culture in Central Florida by showcasing our foods, our dance, our music, our culture uh, during a festival, basically.
What's the one thing from your cultural heritage back home that you most missed here?
Mm, I would probably say the food, even though we still find a way to replicate it, to replicate the food here. We still find a way to do that, but it's not the same because the some of the product of the ingredient don't grow here, so it doesn't taste the same. So it's hard to replicate the same exact food. But if I have to say something that I miss the most is the food. Yes.
And where can you, restaurant or groceries, can you get closest to your tastes of home here?
I would say as far as grocery stores, I would probably say a lot of Caribbean grocery stores have a lot of spice and product that resemble what we use back home, and that can actually be closest to what we have. So I would say a lot of Caribbean. The Caribbean have a lot of um, uh, ingredient and stuff like that that resemble and that get close to what we have back
Sure.
home. So,
Well, certainly the African diaspora spread throughout the Caribbean as well as in our
exactly.
country for some of the same regions. Um, but anyway, Joel, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do in our
Thank you.
community. Thanks for bringing us Taste of Africa and the nuances and the spices and diversity that you bring from Africa to our
Thank you.
community. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you very
joining us
much.
today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you all those who are watching. Again, every Tuesday afternoon, we go live with Diverse Orange, conversations about diversity here. I also do on Thursdays a Playfully Orange about arts and culture here in Central Florida. Thanks, everyone.